Control is lost to us by Purple Painted Insomniac on AO3. Summary. Class 1A are all grown up and pros, but on a routine raid where they are on a scene at their sensei's request, Shinsou Hitoshi learns that not everything he knew about his family is true. Revelations unfold, and he questions why he had all the luck and became a hero despite everything everyone thought he would become. Episode 1. Chapter 1. Hitoshi was kitted out in his hero suit, splash-proof, compressed shirt, with a loose but cropped water and fire-resistant hoodie, splash-proof, water and fire-resistant combat boots tucked into his sob-absorption steel toes combat boots. His capture weapon coiled around his neck, while his persona cords sat snug against his jaw and lower face. His utility belt was full-stocked, and the 2 knives he kept in the holsters on either thigh were freshly sharpened. Purple eyes were fixed on the screen as he gritted his teeth behind the support item. How are any of these idiots he'd be able to get free from any voice with all the racket they were making was beyond him. He turned his eyes, searching for long dark hair and even darker eyes. If anyone could shut these fuckers up, it was his former sensei and mentor. When Dark met Indigo, Hitoshi gestured at the room at large before scowling at his mentor. The man gave a slight grin and shook his head at Hitoshi's antics, but got to work on the problem. Aizawa stuck his finger in his mouth and let out a shrill whistle, causing several heroes, some of them with very sensitive hearing, to wince and glare at the man. Will you problem magnets shut the hell up, so Siren can actually hear the audio to mimic the voices we need? Aizawa yawned as Hitoshi gave him a thumbs up, but it didn't last long. If Eyebags needed quiet to do his research, maybe he should have done it ahead of time, huh? Bakugo, or Atom Bomb. Hitoshi should really get into the habit of referring to the explosive blonde by his hero alias. Adam, now isn't the time for your petty bullshit. Let Siren do his work. If we can't do the briefing in an acceptable volume, we can leave the room. Deku, and gods did Hitoshi hate using that alias. He didn't know if Uraraka had changed the meaning. To Hitoshi, it would always mean useless, and his best friend was anything but. Thank you, Deku. You were always the best explosion wrangler in the class. Hitoshi winced, causing a few of the others to snort while trying to hold in their laughter. The ones incapable of doing so avoided making eye contact with the blonde. Hitoshi, now that he could actually hear, turned back to the footage and got to work. Male voices would be easier on the fly, with so little prep time. Anything in a higher registry meant too much fine control, and he didn't have the time for that kind of study. They were against the clock. Another 20 minutes, and Hitoshi felt confident enough that he had 3 of the 6 male target voices to a passable imitation. It don't have to do if he's not bringing out the old annoying the fuck out of the bastards till they lose their shit card. It was a club to the head instead of a knife to the jugular, but effective as a punch. Aizawa would say sloppy, but Hitoshi didn't care as long as it worked. Okay, you fucks are good. I'm gonna get. Let's get into position. Hitoshi called softly as he walked behind Jiro and Soji. The last thing he wanted was to give them ringing ears right before they clocked in. Jiro turned and he glared playfully at him. Oh yeah, now you be considerate to my ears, you mindfuck. Couldn't have gotten the old hobo to shut us up without causing tinnitus? She scowled at him, but Hitoshi could see the amusement dancing in her eyes. He shrugged, twisting a dial until it sat comfortably on the timbre of their old teacher. It was illogical to try and tell the old man what to do. You know he'll do it as damn well pleases problem children that he is. Hitoshi ducked as Grubby Gray capture weapon reached for him, barely skimming his gratifying, defying hair, to sail over him and Jiro both. Jiro was laughing, while the rest looked on in fond amusement. Siren, Just 'cause you've graduated doesn't mean I can't make you run the hell course, brat. You forget you work for my agency. Aizawa huffed, fondly shaking his head at his hell class. Why'd he request the vast majority of them for this task was beyond him. It was like having them all back in his class. Sure thing, Eraser. I'll remember that the next time you want me to swing to the nearest store to buy tuna for the literal gremlins you adopted while on patrol. Hitoshi gives a mock salute, as he used all the fancy footwork the man had ever taught him to avoid the almost inescapable scarf. His former classmates all grunting and complaining as various body parts get smacked by the unforgiving cloth. Gonna have to move quicker if you want to catch me, old man. You're getting old and slow, and I know all your moves. Various members of their old class were laughing loudly while Aizawa chuckled in exasperation. Alright, enough acting like children. You all have a job to do in and out. Easy as pie. You know your entry points and your targets. Clean takedowns. Excessive force is only to be used in extreme circumstances. I'm looking at you, Adam. And you too, Freeze Flash. Deku, Siren, and I will be front line capturing as many as we can in one swoop. Black Whip and the capture weapons are our best takedowns. Now move to our positions. They all formed out of their predetermined teams. Hitoshi had spent weeks undercover, and then just disappeared. Quirks were a godsend for altering appearances just enough that they wouldn't suspect pro-hero Siren was Tankayui. He went in to the dingy warehouse, taking point while Eraser and Deku spread out to his flanks. Hitoshi twisted the dial, a little called out, throwing his voice so it bounced out enough to sound like it was coming from deeper inside. Yamada, we have the hero's back entrance. There was a moment where the man let his head swing in the direction, allowing them to sneak forward a little closer. But the man's mind snapped under Hitoshi's control, and he readjusted his persona cords, moving forward so he could murmur commands into the man's ear. Radio the other guards. Let them know that everything is fine. Then walk outside and surrender peacefully to the police at the perimeter. Walk carefully. Avoid bumping into anything. Hitoshi cautiously, softly, watching as the man carried out his instructions. They moved onwards, the takedowns clean and swift, the sounding of scuffing coming from the back of the building, pops from explosions, and the cradle of fire and ice. Hitoshi let his guard down, an easy takedown, but something nicked in the back of his mind. There was a villain he had heard whispers of being part of the syndicate, but he hadn't seen nor heard of her during the time as Takara Ui. He wasn't even sure what she looked like the few goons who had met the woman refused to talk about her fearing gaze in her eyes. Marinette had apparently won their silence through sheer fear. The next few goons he managed to snag under his control had made to question, but Eraser simply shook his head to dissolve him. They moved deeper into the compound, eyes trained on the shadows of henchmen and villains alike. Shit. Think we may have found Marinette, Siren, Deku, Eraser, any of you assholes would be helpful right now. Adam's brash voice cracked over the comms, the sound of his explosions both distant, and now also right in their ears. They followed the sounds of the destructions wrought by their heavy hitters. Hitoshi inwardly cursed whoever thought pairing the two together was an easy idea. Both of their destruction rates were higher than average for their graduating year of heroes. Shouta stopped feet away, eyes wide, as they watched a slender woman with shoulder-length lilac hair dance around the heroes. Earphone Jack and Charge both stood either side of the woman, fighting against their friends. Eraser activated his quirk, eyes pinning on the woman, who whipped her head around to stare at the man as her quirk fell away, leaving the two heroes to stumble away towards their classmates groggily. Sai, when Eraser has to blink, don't let her touch anything. That's how she gains control. Earphone Jack called, rubbing at her temples. Hitoshi grimaced behind the personal cords. Another mind control quirk. He thought there wasn't anyone remotely like him alive. But touch wasn't so far removed from sound. He could ponder the chances of him having to fight a quirk similar to his own later, when they were all safe and she had suppression cuffs snugly fit around bony wrists. Hey, Marinette! How about I cut off your strings? Hitoshi grinned. Finessing was out of sneaking around this one. Couldn't work. It was time to be the annoying little shit he could and bring out the clubs. To further his pun, he drew one of his blades and crouched into the stand beaten into him, time and time again, by Eraserhead. He skidded around his mentor to get a better eye on his opponent while not blocking the man's sight. Her eyes widened behind the mask she wore of pre-cork marionette puppet, white pupils surrounding by soft lilac. They reminded Hitoshi of things better left in his past. She stepped forward, faltering, and Hitoshi danced out of reach. Something had thrown her off her game, and it couldn't be his puns because that was weak even for him. Not to mention she had been fighting just until she had caught sight of him. What? Cat's got your tongue, Marionette? Or do you know exactly what it is I can do? Hitoshi grimaced as the woman reached up and pulled her mask away. The face staring back at him was familiar, but at the same time, he hadn't seen it since he was 5, and his quirk had come. Hitoshi. Her voice was rough and painful sounding, like she had screamed until it gave out and screamed at someone. He had to do vocal exercises to avoid that kind of trauma to his own vocal cords. Some scenes weren't conclusive to normal talking levels. With that slightly utterance, she had fallen under his control. Have her surrender Siren, and then we need to debrief. Eraserhead said, his tone business as usual. Hitoshi gave the order, and the woman moved, his own eyes never leaving her, as she looked just like his mother had before she left with his father. But it couldn't be. He had been an only child. Siren, come on. We have a few things to talk about in private before this problem class swarms you for answers. Aizawa gave him a look, and he followed like the obedient apprehends he was always been. They soon reached the building they used as a base, Hitoshi not really certain how he got the face of his mother, supposed over the villain they knew nothing about, and that had been terrorizing parts of Japan since his 2nd or 3rd year at UA. How did that villain know your identity, Psyche? Shouta asked. Through clenched teeth, his eyes narrowed as he stared down at his former student. Hitoshi collapsed into a chair and glared up at the man. I don't know, but... He trailed off. It's not fucking possible. They had never mentioned another child, not in the few memories he had before his quirk came in, and they left him. They were burned into his memory. Some, only happy memories, had been before he enrolled UA, and he met his friends, and his family he has now. But what, Hito? Come on, kid. If you don't fucking talk to me, I can't help you. Shouta pleased with him, and Hitoshi groaned before looking at him and holding up a hand, asking for a moment. Shouta nodded and waited quietly. So, I don't know who she is, but she looks like my mother. She looks so much fucking like her. Same shade of hair and eyes, but white pupils, like mine. Her quirk, she controls people through touch, like I can once they respond to me. It could be another mutation of their quirks, but they've never mentioned another kid, and she's older than me. Hitoshi shook his head violently. A sister? Maybe we need to find your bio parents to get answers. But first, we need to interrogate her. Your appearance really threw her off, thinking you're up to a little questioning and answering session. Shouta asked, and Hitoshi grimaced, but nodded. Best they make use of him while they could. If it turns out he and Marinette were siblings, or related in any way, he'd be pulled from the case. Sure, okay. Might as well make use of me before the shit hits the fan. Hitoshi smiled at the unimpressed look on his dad's face. I regret the day Asashi taught you Western sayings. Come on. Get off your ass and we could head into the cessation before the hell class returns and decide to poke their nose into things better left alone. Hitoshi chuckled at the very real look of apprehension on their old sensei's face. You know they do it because they care, right? Hitoshi asked, raising an eyebrow, admitting knowing all too well how he makes behind blank looks and monotone words. He scowled, shoving Hitoshi away softly. I don't need you brats caring about me. If I wanted to be babied, I'd listen to your pops about jelly packets and not being a complete meal, and actually accept the meals your Hell Class friends leave at the agency for me. Shouta scoffed, and Hitoshi laughed. He does that to annoy you. He knows cats, Momo and Zoo, take turns to bring home-cooked meals around, so you could just reheat when you want to eat. He just likes annoying you. Hitoshi dodged a hit to the back of his head, with a wide grin plastered across his face. This annoys his dad and mentor was a welcome distraction, taking his mind away from the inevitable bomb that was about to hit his face and shatter it. Of course he would have conspired with the other mother hens of your class to look after me. Shouta raised a brow as Hitoshi let out a short laugh. They hopped from roof to roof, making their way to where Shouta knew they had taken the villain. You say that like I don't also conspire against you. Someone has to make sure you eat right. And rest, or we'll be putting you in a damn coffin. Before you retired, old man. Hitoshi scowled a little. They had all been increasingly worried that their teacher pace seemed to be picking up rather than slowing down as he aged. You all have nothing to worry about, kid. I'm just fine going as long as I have been before you Hellions trapped your way into my life and refused to leave. The softness in his voice told Hitoshi that he didn't really mean the words, lighten his steps a little. You say that like we wouldn't put your life on the line for any of us without a second thought. We have watched you do it time and time again. You looked after us when we were all little and green. Now we're just repaying the favor, old man. Hitoshi dropped down in front of the police station as his pops came out of the door and scowled upon his face. I can't let him in there, Eraser. Marinette is claiming she's his older sister. It's a damn conflict of interest. He's off the case. Not one, not even those demons you call students, are to utter a word about the investigation from this point on. Do I make myself clear? He glared at them both, dark eyes narrowed and lips pursed. I have no biological sister. I was an only child, and I was abandoned by my parents as the system. Hitoshi said, holding the man's eyes, as he stared at the facts. He knew his pop's quirk, had seen it in action enough, when he would fall into the trap of lying to him, long before he realized he could trust him and his sensei to care about him like they had promised, that no one would dispute the validity of his words. Truth. And therein lies our problem. Marinette sang like Hisashi on a Sunday morning. Her full name, Shinsou Hana, quirk, puppeteer. Villain alias, Marinette. She was kidnapped when she was 7, shortly after her little brother Shinsou Hitoshi was born. Her statement also rang as true. I have no way except DNA or hunting your bio parents down to validate who is correct. Until we know, I'm sorry, Siren, but you're benched from this case. Hitoshi glared at his pops. Benched before they could accurately prove the validity of each statement. God damn it! This really had him spook, and he knew if he pushed back, it would not end well for him. Okay, I actually really enjoyed that. Okay, so this ship, it's not an Eraser Mike ship. So, this is gonna be weird. It's Eraserhead with Tsukauchi. So it's a weird rare pair, I think. I would consider this a rare pair. I mean, it wouldn't be like rare, like... I think a rare pair would be, two characters that have never talked. Like, Melissa and May. They've never had an interaction. And they're both characters that barely pop up. But I do like that ship, kind of. I think it would be nice. Kind of. Maybe. I don't know. I was about to say Dave and All Might, but that ship makes sense. I'm sorry. They have to be exes. Especially, I think mainly the reason why I ship them is not even what happens in canon. It's the bloopers. The way... the way the voice actor, the English voice actor specifically, says Dave. Oh my god, like, I love this. Chapter 2 summary. So we continue on, and Hitoshi is faced with the realization that maybe the discrimination he faced as a child isn't as dead as he believed to be. Some pairings revealed, and some hinted at. So is Hitoshi and Izuku already together? Or are they gonna get together? Oh, this is part of a series. Hold up. I think I already said this. I think I've already discovered this, and the second one is not completed. Yep. I remember now. Ignore me. Please ignore me. Pining. Okay, never mind. It says pining, so they're gonna get together. Getting together. Yeah, they're gonna get together. I don't know how focused on romance the story is gonna be. Given by the summary itself, it seems that it's gonna be focused more on Hitoshi and how his family is and unraveling all that than actually them getting together. Chapter 1 seems to be centered on that, with very little Shindeku moment. The only Shindeku moment shown, I guess we could say, is when Hitoshi doesn't want to call Izuku Deku, but still calls him Deku, because in his mind he doesn't want to call his best friend. Oh, I should have known that. It said best friend. Never mind. He doesn't want to call his best friend useless or worthless. And that's the only moment I could say it's a Shindeku. And then the second one, so we continue on, and Hitoshi's faced with the realization that the discrimination he faced as a child isn't as dead as he thought, as he believed it to be. Some pairings revealed and others hinted at, right? I feel like it's going to be very heavily on that. The fact that his discrimination, you know, that stuff. Not on the pairings revealed or the hinted at. Right? I think that's just going to be like a little side piece, like, oh, we get this throughout the story, right? Kind of situation, right? So I'm pretty sure the pairings that are revealed is probably going to be Aizawa and Tsukauchi, right? And then the ones hinted at is going to be Shindeku, so we might have a little Shindeku moment, but for the most part, I think most of the story is very much not centric on Shindeku, which is why I put it as a gen. Not to mention this author has it labeled as multi. So when there's only 2 male ships tagged, that tells me that it's not necessarily a fic. It's a gen fic, right? It just has ships, right? But for me, a lot of fics qualify as gen, even though some other people might not qualify it as gen. It's why a lot of the times my ratings have gen, not my ratings, but my AO3 rap has gen listed as like the top ship, quote unquote, when a lot of those ships, a lot of those gen fics, almost like 70% of them have Eraserhead in it. And if it weren't for if it were just for the simple fact of how many times a ship appears in a fic, Eraserhead would be on top. If I'm being honest, Eraserhead would be on top because it appears in almost all the fics I read. Almost all. I say almost because there's some where they're not together. There's others where they are together. There's some where this is the first one I read where Aizawa is with someone else. Apart from Cheat Code, Support Strategist, where Joke and Mike are together. No, it's not Cheat Code. It's Deku. I think he's some pro by Clouds, Man in the Clouds Not Coming Down. Anyways, that's all I have to say for now. I cannot wait for you guys to really enjoy this new story. I really am. I hope you guys enjoy the art I made for this. I had fun making this. I'm definitely going to change the styling of the actual art. I think instead of like not giving them hands and it just being like little sticks, I think I will give them actually like fleshed out hands. I'm going to keep fleshed out arms. I think I'm going to keep the hands as circles. And I'm going to, instead of having the legs be triangles, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think we're going to make them be more oval shaped, more square, not more square, but more rounded. I really do like how the head is. The head is so much bigger than the rest of the body, and I'm going to keep it that way, right? But it's a chibi art style. It's a chibi art style. I really like it. I also realized how pale Aizawa looks. he looks dead. At least Shinsou has some melanin in him. Aizawa looks dead as hell. I am thinking of doing all, because that one was super easy. I think I made that really quickly, right? Those are really easy to make and stuff like that. Not really quickly, but like I will say it's faster than my others and I don't get as frustrated. So I think I'm gonna say, have my style be that. Not to mention I really like that chibi kind of art. So I think for now, future, what's it called? Thumbnails are gonna be drawn in that likeness. So yeah. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.